The NBA playoffs are finally here, and if you play NBA DFS, you just can't wait to get your hands on these juicy slates that we're about to get. So I want to give out a few of my plays because I haven't seen any videos out yet, and I can't wait for this to start. So let's take a look at the games. I guess we have early 5 p.m., 8 p.m., and 10:30. So the first game at 2:30 is Brooklyn and Philadelphia, and then we got Orlando and Toronto at 5 p.m. Then we have the Clippers and the Golden State Warriors. That's at 8 p.m. And then we have San Antonio and the Denver Nuggets, and that's going to be at 10:30. We got a little 4-game slate to start the playoffs. So I'll give out a few people I like at each position, people who I think will be popular, people who are sleepers, and people who are just complete punts but could be pretty viable on a 4-game slate to start the playoff season. It might even get a little bit dicey on DFS. That's how I see it based on my experience playing this whole season. All right, so I'll start with guard. Well, first of all, let's just talk about the pricing in general. Everybody is priced generously, which I really like, but it could kind of lead you to taking somebody that looks good as a price, like really good as a price, but just doesn't perform because the usage isn't there. You got to understand, this is the playoffs, and teams are going to do whatever they got to do to score. If one guy's doing all the work, then that's how it's going to be. If D. Russell gets an 85, then he's gonna get an 85, and I don't know what the rest of the squad will do. So nothing's guaranteed in DFS. Just keep that in mind. Nobody knows who exactly is gonna pick. Who's gonna have a great game. You just can't predict it. So just enjoy the playoffs and have fun, because there's a lot of good plays on this slate. All right, so guard. Obviously, Ben Simmons at 7,800 is just a steal if Joel Embiid is out. But we'll talk about Joel Embiid when I get to center, because he's probably the key to the entire slate, to be honest. But other guards I like, I think you can get D. Russell at pretty low ownership. He is 8,700. He's more expensive than Simmons. He's 900 more. But I don't know, man. Simmons under 8K in the playoffs. If Embiid doesn't play, you might have to pivot to him. I think you can get really low ownership on Kyle Lowry because Kawhi Leonard is cheap, and I like him at power forward. When we get to power forward, I'm going to emphasize him as a primary option for my lineups. Yeah, you know what? I'm into Kyle Lowry because the guard defense of DJ Augustine, I don't know if he can handle Kyle Lowry, to be honest. If you really want to go sneaky for value, I don't recommend it, but you could play Augustine. You could play someone like Derek White or Burn Forbes. But I don't know if I'm going to go there right now because I don't know what their minutes are going to look like in a competitive game. I'm going to assume all of these games stay competitive to start off. All right, I think that's enough for point guard. Let's go over to shooting guard. Sorry, my phone's kind of falling. There we go. All right. So over at shooting guard, I don't like paying up here really, unless you're going to put in some D. Russell. The only spot that really makes sense for me to pay up at is D. Russell, but you can also play Lou Will, which I think is an interesting play. Just named 6th man of the year again. Lou Will is definitely viable at 6,200. I mean, that's just a very freaking good price. But like I said, all the prices are good, so you're almost disregarding price, which makes some really interesting value plays for me at shooting guard. 5,900 Klay Thompson. I mean, he could get you 10x. Everybody knows that. if he has the hot hand, forget about it. Like he could just go off. Same thing with Spencer Dinwiddie, 4,700. I know he comes off the bench. So does Lou Will, guys. By the way, to those of you who are new at DFS, keep that in mind. So you might see a 0 in the first quarter, and then out of nowhere, Lou Will has a 50. So you just never know. I also like Patrick Beverley as a nice option at 4,800. You might get some low ownership on him. One guy I'll stay away from, and I never play, is Will Barton. I don't know why people play him. He's not very good anymore. Like, he was good at one point before this injury, but now he just, I don't know. Him and Gary Harris, I don't get them. By the way, is Denver tanking, guys? Is Denver actually tanking? Because I don't really like what I've been seeing out of them as of late in the season. I'm just not feeling Denver right now, to be honest. I am going against Denver. I would rather take players from San Antonio, which will bring me right into small forward. You can play Kawhi at small forward, but I'll get to him at power forward because the small forward I'm looking at right now is DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan at 7,200. This guy has 50, 60 point upside. And in the playoffs, I really think he wants to prove something here. He wants to be able to play Kawhi Leonard and beat Denver, who is tanking, that in my opinion. I think this is a great spot for San Antonio, and DeRozan is going to have to take them there. Derek White won't be able to hold this squad down. They're going to have to rely on Forbes, Patty Mills, possibly some Podol if Aldridge gets a little bit tired in the stretch. But DeRozan's going to be the main guy holding this team down. So I am big into DeMar DeRozan to open up this playoff slate. Dehydrated. So my next play would be a low ownership possibility of Jimmy Butler at 6,900. Below 7,000, Jimmy Butler is just a smash play. And I'm getting to Joel Embiid at center. I'm going to save center for last because I think it's the most loaded position on most of these DFS slates. If Jimmy Butler plays at 6,900, like you might as well just stack Philadelphia, like and just go for it from there, because I don't know, that just looks too good in a fast-paced game against Brooklyn. And I don't even think Jared Allen would be at much of an advantage either way. I think he still plays a good game. But again, we'll save Jared Allen for when I get to center. So Orlando sleepers that I like, Terrence Ross. He's an interesting pick. I think Orlando is going to go a little bit overlooked, even though they've been playing pretty good. And the way they got into the playoffs was pretty dramatic. You know, I'm pretty sympathetic to that. And, it's been a while for them, so they might come out hungry. They might want to eat. Terrence Ross can really rip it and score, but if he don't get them baskets, he's going to burn you for sure. So just keep that in mind with Terrence Ross before you go jam him in. I said Evan Fournier before. I like him. And this guy, Jonathan Isaac, has been playing pretty damn good. He's been pretty consistent, but I think he's more of a... He is going to be low owned, but he only puts up like cash game value for some reason. Like, even though he's low owned, he's kind of a tough call. Like, I don't really know what to do with him sometimes, but feel free to play him. I really don't. I have nothing against that. And then there's these guys on Brooklyn, like you can play Joe Harris, Kuruks, Damari Carroll, but honestly, those guys are going to... I'm considering those guys punts, and they're kind of expensive punts. Like, you just don't know which one's going to go off. So Brooklyn on the slate makes this pretty tricky, and I think Brooklyn is what's going to mix this slate up. It's pretty evident that a team like Brooklyn can really just destroy your slate if you stay away from them. So keep the Brooklyn players in mind, but I wouldn't jam like a stack in with Brooklyn myself. I don't know if that's a safe play. All right, let's go to power forward. Kevin Durant, 8,000. 8,000 for Kevin Durant. I don't think I've ever seen Kevin Durant that cheap. Uh, I played all year, and I've played a little bit last year. That's kind of when I started getting into this. But Kevin Durant at 8,000, I don't care if Boogie, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Clay are all on the floor with him. I think Kevin Durant can still take over a game, and this is playoff Kevin Durant. 8,000. I'm definitely interested in that. LaMarcus Aldridge 7,500, absolutely viable. I think he might be a cash game play myself because I think he'll be pretty highly owned. I don't think Millsap can handle him, but Millsap's a pretty good play at 5,400, and there is a mismatch in a way for Jokic in that game, but I'm gonna get to Jokic when we get to center, which is gonna be the last thing I talk about. Obviously, we all know that by now. I don't know why I keep saying it, but we got Montrezl Harrell. Now, I like Montrezl Harrell a lot. I'm not saying to fade him, but keep in mind he does come off the bench, and you don't know if he's gonna get into a rhythm early or not. So he's a tough call on some nights, but I really like him at 5,900. As much as I like Millsap at 54, I would say they're equivalent, to be honest. They both have similar upside. They're different players, but I just really am a fan of Montrezl Harrell. I just think he's going to eat at 5,900. That's a pretty good play there. So KD, Aldridge, Harrell, Millsap. You could go Plumlee if you think Denver's just going to get blown out for some reason, but I don't really see much else at power forward. So let's finally get to center. So Joel Embiid, everybody knows that you target centers against Brooklyn and you target centers against the Clippers. So obviously you're going to play Joel Embiid and Cousins. Like that's your primary okay, let's take the chalk and we're safe. Like, and now we have to find other guys around this. That's probably going to be a popular route, guys. I don't know if everybody is going to hop on that route, but that was my first inclination when I looked at the slate. So for me to be different, it's going to be tough to go to different players, and that's where I get to Jokic. I'm not going to Jokic. I'm going to fade Jokic. Even at 9K, it's a fantastic price. I can't argue that. But I just don't like his usage lately. I really just can't hop on board with it. Nikola Jokic is not what he was earlier in the year. And I don't know if it's, he's tired, like his legs are not there, or he just doesn't look that good. He looks a little bit soft right now. And I want to see him turn that around, obviously. Because I was a fan of Denver. I was riding Denver a lot. I remember when Jamal Murray was out and, Monte Morris was eating and Malik Beasley. Like, those guys are deep. They have a great squad. But I don't want to see, them burn a game because Jokic isn't doing what he's supposed to. And that's a lot of pressure on a squad that hasn't had real recent playoff history. So I don't know how they're going to perform, and how they finished this season off was, even though they were resting, I get they were resting people in the last couple of games, but overall they did not play great later in the season, the Nuggets. So I'm hesitant to play Jokic. I gotta see if he can pay off a 9K. I'm sure he'll get his value, but I don't know if he's going to smash value. But it is a 4-game slate and raw points apply, so there is no shame in playing Nikola Jokic. He is a fine play. I'm just going to fade him myself, though. All right, another center I like. I said earlier that I like Jarrett Allen. He is 4,400. That's too cheap. I'm sorry. This kid he's going to be like a 6K player next year. this guy. He should be a minimum 6K player next year if he keeps going at the rate he's going. He just has to get the minutes. And he loses a few minutes to Ed Davis, who I think is actually a pretty good punt play if you're trying to go that route. You can really punt center here, go Jared Allen and Ed Davis, or you can take somebody like Andrew Bogut, who the Warriors really happen to like as a pickup. So center is very interesting to me. Now, I do feel here's the interesting guys. These are the two interesting guys that I was saving for last that I had no mention of so far on this whole video. Nikola Vucevic on Orlando. Fantastic price, 8,700. I think you have a chance at some low ownership with him and Marc Gasol, as well as Pascal Siakam, who has been playing outstanding this year. He's definitely worth every penny on this slate. I just don't know what to do with Ibaka. Ibaka could go very overlooked and destroy this slate too. So those guys are tricky. But if I had to pick one of the four, obviously I'm going to go with Nikola Vucevic. But Pascal Siakam, for me, is a close second. And he could be worth the price and payoff there. And you can play him at power forward and center. So he's a pretty good option. I can't deny that. All right, so there we go, guys. There's some of my plays that I like for this playoff slate. I'm sure the videos that I watch will talk about some of the people I just did. And best of luck, everyone. Peace, build good lineups, and let's go Tiger Woods.